怖がらせちゃって。ごめんなさい。
よかったらこんな小さい子を不安にさせるなんて。
I took Sachiko's hand in both of mine, turning to face her, ducking down a little so our eyes were level.
大丈夫だよ。幽霊は怖いけど、なんだかあなたは怖くない気がするの。
怖くない？本当に？
You really should be.
幸子ちゃんは大丈
夫。お姉ちゃん行っちゃうの？
I didn't have to think for a moment since I knew I couldn't take a ghost with me very far, but in the end, I also knew I couldn't just leave her.
幸子ちゃんも一緒にゆかのお兄ちゃんを探してくれる？
お兄ちゃん？
すっごく頼りになるの。きっと幸子ちゃんにも優しくしてくれるよ。
Her head was still down, but her eyes were peeking up at me. She looked nervous, but for the first time since we started talking, she also looked hopeful.
幸子も一緒に行っていいの？
Your brother's gonna freak if you actually meet him.
もう一人じゃないよ。ゆかが、お姉ちゃんがそばにいるからね。
Honestly, I was lonely too. I probably wanted her with me just as badly as she wanted someone with her. Ghost or no.
さあ、行こう、幸子ちゃん。
I turned to head back down the hall, but was stopped by Sachiko tugging on my uniform. She was wearing a forced smile on her face, but still looked uneasy.
お姉ちゃん、私の言うこと聞く？
言うことって？
What was she going to tell me to do? I was so surprised by the question, I wasn't sure how best to respond. But the longer I thought about it, the more uneasy she looked, so...
お姉ちゃんね、あなたのお話なら聞くよ。
本当？
Don't do it.
だから何でも話してね。
There was clearly something specific she had in mind, but I wasn't going to push her about it. She'd ask me when she was ready. She seemed satisfied with my answer and let go of my uniform, and so, hand in hand, we continued down the hall in search of my big brother. Oops, come on. Let's see if she stops me here. No? See if the door is even open. I hope not. Oh god.
やっぱりここにはいないのかな。
I would hope not.
そうだね。
幸子ちゃん、ゆかの他には誰も見なかった？
That's all she said, and then silently she squatted on the ground and wrapped her arms around her knees.
どうしたの？どこか痛いの？
姉ちゃん、寒いよ。
寒い？
She nodded nodded firmly, almost exaggeratedly.
そっか、幽霊でも痛みを感じるならきっと寒さも感じるよね。かわいそう。
As if to show me how cold she was, she then started to visibly shiver.
ねえ幸子ちゃん、何かゆかにできることない？何か。そう、幸子ちゃんがこれ以上辛くならないように何でも言って。
じゃあお姉ちゃんのそれちょうだい。
Can I have those? She was pointing at my feet.
靴下？
This was the first time I noticed that Sachiko was walking around barefoot. I was so busy worrying about myself and nothing about and about finding my big brother that I completely failed to pay attention to poor Sachiko's
ご
appearance.
めんね、すぐ気がつかなくて。
いいの。
Sachiko shook her head.
私お姉ちゃんなのにもっと早く気づいてあげられればよかった。
If I were big brother, I would have noticed right away and given her my shoes. But it wasn't too late. I took off my shoes and socks and offered them to Sachiko. They were a little wet, but still better than walking on this cold dirt floor with bare feet. I didn't really like the idea of doing that to myself, but just to look at this poor soul shaking from form convinced me I was doing the right thing.
ありがとうお姉ちゃん。
Let me guess, she's gonna have to run through like a floor of glass or something. Sachiko took just the socks, leaving the shoes in my hand.
幸子ちゃん、靴下だけでいいの？
Oh,
上
good.
履きは？
うん。だってお姉ちゃんが裸足になっちゃうでしょ。
She flashed a gentle smile at me, which stayed on her face the whole time she slowly put on both the
ゆ
socks.
かお姉ちゃんに怪我してほしくないから。
What a good Sachiko, even though I know she's gonna try to kill me.
そっか、優しいんだね、幸子ちゃんは。
I patted her head, just like Big Brother always did to me.
お姉ちゃん大好き。
Uh-huh. Her smile had grown. It now stretched from cheek to cheek, and I began to feel like I'd do anything at all to keep her happy. I wonder if this was how Big Brother felt when I smiled at him like that.
頑張ろうね、幸子ちゃん。
Despite the severity of the situation, I was in high spirits. I almost forgot about how horrible this place is.
頑張る。うん、お兄ちゃんを見つけられるように。幸子ちゃん、今何か言った？
I thought that was a giggle, but it sounded different somehow. Like her voice had changed to someone else's, or someone else was here.
ううん。
かわいい。むちゃくちゃしたい。
何？うんうん。
She gonna turn on me?
何も言ってないよ。そっか、気のせいかな。
What is it they usually say in movies? Must have been the wind? Not too likely in this stagnant underground bunker like this, but still.
きっと怖がりすぎなのかも。
you're not.
もっとしっかりしなくちゃ。お姉ちゃんなんだから。
I put on the bravest face I could manage and marched back out into the hall, pausing only to make sure Sachiko was still behind me. It's music. Can I find...
ここはさっき来たところ。
そうだね。他を探そうか。
うん。
大丈夫。きっとお兄ちゃんが何とかしてくれるから。
お兄ちゃん？
すっごく頼りになるんだ。
へえ、そうなんだ。
Can I actually search for the body tag now? Very thoroughly decomposed based on the general appearance. What's left? It appears to belong to a very young girl. Her name tag's affixed. Mako. We ran into Mako, right? Shoot. Now let's see if we can find something in the body pool. As much as I don't want to go in there. But maybe we'll have an event this time.
お姉ちゃん。
Yeah? Sachiko had come to a halt. She was grabbing loosely the cuff of my skirt to
どう
stop
し
me.
たの？
ここは嫌。怖い感じがするの。
I agree.
そうだね。お姉ちゃんもここにはいたくないな。
But I remember in the first game there was a body in like the lower right or something that had something on it, so I want to see if it's there.
じゃあ、あっちへ行こう。うん。
Okay, now can I look at the bodies? It's a decomposed corpse. So Tomi. Half skeletal, based on what's left. Student ID. Trade school, Asuka. No. Ooh, rope. In the last game, you got to use the rope. Shit, so this game, Yuka can't use the rope. Because up above, there was a hole here from one of the earthquakes. So that's not an option here. Age is impossible, female name. Oh, did I already check that one? Age in general. Kawasaki. Age and gender impossible. Yuki Tanaka. Looks like these ones are useless to try to identify. Can't grab that one either. Okay, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna save often. Try the storeroom.
やっぱり開かないね。
うん。
It's not really giving me much for options, is it? Okay, so that's still a no-go.
お姉ちゃん、
Yeah?
どうしたの？
足が痛いの。
Your feet hurt, huh? Soles of Sachiko's feet seemed to be bothering her quite a bit. As we stood there, I noticed she was fidgeting in place, trying not to stand on them.
そうだよね。幸子ちゃん、靴下だけだもんね。
Said nothing else, she just stared at my feet. Seemed that she wanted my shoes now, but didn't want to say anything since I offered them earlier and she turned them down. So I just smiled and decided to offer them again.
私の上履き履く？
いいの？
うん。幸子ちゃん、また怪我しちゃうもんね。
お姉ちゃんは？
ゆかはお姉ちゃんだから大丈夫だよ。
Oh, jeez. I wouldn't accept any objections. I just took off my shoes and handed them to Sachiko without another word. Cheerfully, she slipped them on over my socks. They were a little big on her, but I knew she'd feel better just having them.
ありがとう。嬉しい。